right, ladies and gentlemen, I will now briefly introduce Sadhvi Bhagwati Saraswati ji, although there is so much to say about her. Sadhvi Bhagwati Saraswati lives and teaches at the Parmarth Niketan Ashram on the banks of the Ganga. She is a graduate of Stanford University and holds a PhD in psychology. She is also vice chair of the United Nations Faith Advisory Council on Religion. She spearheads many social development projects as Secretary General of the Global Interfaith WASH Alliance and president of the Divine Shakti Foundation. And she's going to be in conversation with Ms. Ashali Varma, whom many of us will already know and recognize. She's a freelance journalist who's authored the biography of her father, the late Lieutenant General P.S. Bhagat. It's called The Victoria Cross, a love story. It was released to very much critical and commercial acclaim. She's been executive producer with the International Commentary Service in New York and the executive publisher of the Earth Times in New York, along with which she's also worked as the editor of Choices Magazine, United Nations Development Program. So I'm not going to take up too much time because this is going to be a very good conversation. So Ms. Varma, if you'd like to begin.
So, when did you actually come to India for the first time, and was it the time you just fell in love with it, or the many journeys?
So, first of all, just to say a moment of appreciation for Sanjeev Chopra ji. It's really wonderful, mujhe yaad hai when we were journeying to Kailash Mansarovar together so many years, decades ago even. And just his great love for the culture of this land, and to be able to take that love for culture and to turn it into this festival that I've now seen grow over the last few years and have been meaning to come to for the last few years, and finally was able to have the opportunity to come this year. I'm so happy to be here. And with regard to coming to India, so it was definitely love at first sight. Not first sight with Delhi, I have to admit, but first sight with Rishikesh. So it wasn't that I landed in Delhi and I felt, oh, I'm home. But when I arrived on the banks of Ganga, it was 1996, and there was no Google, there was no place to go and say, ki kahan chalna, kya dekhna hai. But we had a 500-page Lonely Planet guidebook. So Delhi mein bette hue, we opened this guidebook and said Rishikesh, just like that. That's why I always say it was really the grace of Mother Ganga that brought me. I don't get any credit for having had a vision in America ki main Bharat mein chalungi, mere ko ashirvad milega, nothing like that. I didn't know anything. I didn't even know that this world existed. If I had known it existed, मैं 24 घंटे ढूंढ लेती उसके लिए, but I didn't know. So we came to India, came to Rishikesh, and I stood on the banks of Ganga and had such a powerful, powerful experience that मुझे मालूम था उसी समय कि मुझे यहाँ रहना है, यही मेरा घर है. And that was literally love at first sight. I had been in Rishikesh for, I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Hotel mein saman chhod ke Ganga ji ke paas aa gaya, and that was it.
This seems almost to be like you had been there before, or perhaps you had some kind of intuitiveness which brought out this passionate feeling that here's something, and you started crying, I believe, and it wasn't tears of joy or tears of sorrow, it was just tears of, oh, here I am.
Yeah, literally, I always say they were tears of truth. And first of all, it definitely was coming home. It was definitely an experience of, I've come home. For me, the way that I try to explain it, because you can understand after 23 years, how many times I've tried to explain ki anubhav kaise hua? गंगा जी की दर्शन करके हुआ क्या मुझको? And for me, I think कि चलो आप समझ लो कि at the end of a day, say you had a very stressful day at work, you come home, थके हुए हैं, stressed, and you get into a hot bath. Okay? Think, oh, I'm just going to take a nice hot bath, I'll relax. That feeling in the body, when the body steps into that hot bath and the body goes, ah, I had that feeling in my soul. It was a sense of having come home, but not on just the physical level of the body in the house, the body in the bath. It was an experience in the soul of, it was really a feeling of having come home. I realized the truth in that moment. I could see. It was jo darshan Maa Ganga ne mujhko diya was not just aankhon ki darshan. ऐसे ना था कि केवल aankhon se I could see. But it was like my entire being, every sense that I had, every way of knowing that I had, I knew this is home. This is the divine experience. I knew who I was. I knew what the universe was. I knew how I related to that universe, my place in that universe, my oneness with that universe. It was an extraordinary experience, literally 30 seconds. And as I always say, ye maa ki kripa hai. मैंने तब तक मतलब 5 मिनट की ध्यान भी नहीं किया था, ना जप किया, ना कुछ भी किया. I was an academic. I was a student. But the grace is so much. The grace of the mother is so much that she doesn't ask कि तुमने कितना ध्यान किया, कितने माला की जप किया, कितना यही किया, कितना वो किया, वो कुछ नहीं पूछती. माँ की गोद में, when you get there in the lap of the mother, she's there. And that was my experience from the first moment.
That's quite amazing. Can you explain why so many Westerners from the West come to India for spirituality, while Indians go to the West for material goods? I mean, it's really quite ironic, don't you think?
It's a tragic irony, as we say. I think, there's a lot of ways of looking at this. You can look at it sociologically, you can look at it psychologically, you can look at it spiritually. The way that I understand it is that in life, we're always looking for that which we don't have. Or even if we do have it, that which we have an experience of not having. Because there's a lot of people who have money, but yadi biter ki anubhav hai kami ka. If I have an experience of less, if I have an experience of lack, well then I'm poor. Doesn't matter how much money is in my bank account. And if I have an experience of abundance, again, it doesn't matter how much is in my account, I am rich. And what I've seen here is, tragically, a lot of it, I think, from just a historical and socio-psychological perspective, is with all of the Western influence from colonial times to the times of when finally the television market opened from just Doordarshan to Western programming and Western advertisements, what you've gotten a lot in India is this indoctrination that says everything Western is better than everything Indian. Everything white is better than everything dark. Look at what are the best-selling products in your market. Fairness creams. In America, best-selling products, tanning creams. Sachmuch. People here cannot believe it कि अमेरिका में लोग पैसा खर्च करके एक bottle की lotion खरीद लेते जिससे वो skin becomes a little bit dark. पहले हम लोग, मुझे याद है बचपन में हम लोग तेल लगा के, सचमुच तेल लगा के धूप में ऐसे लेते हुए थे कि थोड़ा सा tan आना चाहिए. Feared when you learn about skin cancer, wo nahi karna chahiye, then at least kam se kam we would get tans from bottles. But here, everybody wants to be fair. This is a great tragedy because in America, the longing for a tan is just skin deep. It's just about beauty. But here, it's actually much deeper. Here, it's not just about a sense of beauty, it's about a sense of worth. And what I've seen here is there is a longing for a Western life, a longing for not just fairness of the skin, but to go abroad. I always feel so sad. Ganga Kanari mein rehte hue, log हाथ जोड़ के कहते हैं कि किसी तरह से मेरे अमेरिका में नौकरी लगवाओ, किसी तरह से मेरा वीज़ा लगवाओ, किसी तरह से मैं वहाँ चले जाऊँ. और मुझे इतनी दुख होती है. These are people who are so blessed to be living on the banks of Ganga. और विदेश जाने की सपना ले रहे. Because what they don't realize is that there, everything is there on the outside. But America में जाओ, जहाँ सबके पास सब कुछ है, लेकिन नींद लाने के लिए गोली खानी पड़ती है. सचमुच. Antidepressants, anti-anxiety medicine, sleeping pills. Why? Because a material life is not that which fills us on the inside. And that's why, as you asked, why are people from abroad coming to India? Because sab kuch kamane ke baad, sab kuch achieve karne ke baad, they realize, I'm empty inside. Without a few shots of some alcoholic beverage or some pills or something in night, I cannot fall asleep. I'm not happy. So many people. Matlab, you could almost say everyone. I just don't like to overgeneralize. But basically, you could say everyone. Have everything. But when you actually talk to people, what you find is there's an emptiness inside, a sense of lack inside. So they come to India. Because India is the land that's renowned for spiritual fulfillment, that's renowned for real truth, for enlightenment. So they are prepared to leave behind the homes, the comforts, the convenience, all of that, कि शायद मुझको भीतर के अनुभव मिलेगा. शायद मुझको थोड़ा सा भीतर की शांति. सभी शांति ढूंढ रहे हैं, मस्ती ढूंढ रहे हैं, जीवन की रस ढूंढ रहे हैं. We're looking for that juice of life, जीवन का सार. And they come here. And Indians, tragically, who have this in their blood, in their genes, are running abroad कि किसी तरह से थोड़ा सा और पैसा आएगा. And this is the tragedy. And what you see, lastly, when you go abroad, I cannot tell you how many homes we've gone into of the richest Indian families there. People, you could say, big successes. Chahe doctors ho, chahe professionals ho, chahe matlab whatever they are. Big, big mansions, driveways, have so many Mercedes in them. Whole samaj thinks, wow, kash hum ऐसे जीवन जी सकते हैं, काश हमको ऐसे पैसा मिलेगा. But then, जब सभी लोग चले जाते हैं, doors close, आंखों में not just आंसू आते हैं, लेकिन आंखों से आंसू बहने लगता है. They start crying. कि they don't know what to do with life. हमारे बच्चों को क्या हुआ? Children have gone astray. Happiness is gone. All the money has come. The mansions have come. The Mercedes have come. But meaning in life has gone. Because they've traded that culture. They've traded that heritage. They've traded that connection to their roots for material possessions. And so my prayer is कि किसी तरह से people should realize that and stay here.
That was a very beautiful way of explaining it. Sadhvi, Bhagwati, I just wanted to ask you one thing, which actually follows from this question, this answer that you gave. Why is it that, I mean, I've traveled abroad a lot, and why is it that in the mainstream media abroad, there's a very negative impression given on Hinduism, like, you know, there's dowry and caste and sati and evil, and I can go on and on. And they don't seem, I mean, people like you would be, you know, you're thoughtful, you're literate, you read a lot, so naturally you would go beyond that. But if you ask a normal American, they think it's a pagan kind of religion full of superstition and madness, you know.
This is a great tragedy, and it's a very serious tragedy, and this is something that requires the Indian and Hindu community to come together. Hamara jo chalta hai, chalega, kare kya ji, aisa hai ji, vaisa hai ji. That attitude that we have, in some areas it's fine. It's good not to get upset and stressed about everything. But there are some places where actually hame khade hona padta hai, where we actually have to stand up and fight for things. You think if in the Western media people wrote negative, and not just negative, but actually untrue things about any other religion, and it happens a lot, turant, the whole community of that religion, of that culture, within matlab an hour, there is an official statement made by that community against what has happened. And tragically, within the Hindu community, we don't have that cohesiveness, particularly the Hindu community abroad. There isn't that cohesiveness ki turant everybody comes together, stands together, and responds. Nahi to kisi ki himmat nahi hoti to say things that are not only negative but untrue. This is why actually my guru, Puja Swami Chidananda Saraswati ji, in 1987 started the project of the Encyclopedia of Hinduism, because after he had founded the Hindu Jain temple in Pittsburgh, they were having a big event, and all of the Hindus there were talking about hamare bachon ko hum kaise samjhaye, kaise sikaye. In their schools they're learning all of these incorrect things about Hinduism. And the examples that you've given are very mild, very innocuous compared to actually the stuff that gets said. I mean, crazy things. Things that if you publish them in India, like matlab that I can't even repeat from this stage, because then you get, you know, arrested for insulting people's religious sentiments. And these are things that are not only published abroad, but taught in schools abroad. And this was when he said we need to have an encyclopedia of Hinduism. It took 25 years, 1,000 scholars from all over the world. And finally, just 2012-13, the encyclopedia finally was finished, 11 volumes. It was launched here by the President of India, the Vice President of India, the Prime Minister of Great Britain actually in London launched it. So, but that's why he started that project. And I think really it's a failure on the part of the cohesiveness of the Hindu community, and it's getting better now. Now there are organizations abroad. There's an organization called the Hindu American Foundation. There's organizations that are coming together and doing really good work now against that. But this is where you see the attitude of koi baat nahi ji, chalta hai, is very good for our spiritual way of being, because kam se kam fir stress mein nahi hai, people are peaceful. But these are things that we actually really do have to stand up and make sure get fixed whenever. And now these days that everything is online, we need to stand up. Now it doesn't even necessarily have to be a group in America. It can be a group here that needs to stand up and say, this is wrong. We actually just have been involved over the last few years in a massive movement with the Board of Education in California to get the textbooks in California changed about what our children taught there, that Hinduism is a polytheistic religion, that it's a religion that gave birth to the caste system, that, I mean, just all kinds of nonsense. But until and unless you can actually fight there in the courts with the education board, you can't get the textbooks changed. But you still can get public opinion changed. These days we have the power of media, the power of social media. But it requires कि हम सभी लोग साथ ही साथ खड़े हो जाएंगे to say enough, no more. And we have to do that together.
I heard, I think recently, that they have changed the syllabus a bit in California. Yeah, we were successful. Well, let's clap to Sadhvi for that.
Well, I don't get personal credit by any means. There's a whole wonderful movement in California, but what we were able to do was connect them with our Encyclopedia of Hinduism scholars to actually give them all of the scholars that they needed. But yes, it's definitely a success worth applauding. But California is only one of 50 states in the United States. And then, of course, you have Europe and UK. We have the world. But it can be done, but we have to realize that only Hindus are going to fight to make sure that Hinduism is properly portrayed. Only Indians are going to fight to make sure that India is properly portrayed. And if those of us who are Indians, those of us who are Hindus are not fighting for it, we cannot expect that others are going to fight for it. We have to actually have that courage and that awareness that when someone comes into your home and badmouths violently with their words, your family, your truth, that you have to do something about it.
Do you think we lack confidence? Because I've been reading a lot about, say, the Abrahamic religions, and they won't take this nonsense, in the books abroad. I mean, they would have fatwas or whatever, and they would really get very wild. So people are scared of saying anything even remotely different about Islam or Christianity, whereas they can trample all over Hinduism.
I don't think it's a lack of confidence. I don't think it's that. I think there's two things. I think number one, as I said, we really do have this kind of chalta hai ji, koi baat nahi ji, chalega. I think we really do have that attitude, which, as I said, in many ways in life is very good. When somebody in your workplace or somebody in the neighborhood says something that you don't like, it's good to be able to say, "Arey koi baat nahi, rehne do, jaane do, chalega," rather than fighting everybody. But there are times when it's not just that in the office or in the samaj or in the neighborhood or in the family somebody says something about you that you don't like. There are times when somebody is speaking about your dharma, about your culture, about your land, about your people. And they're not just saying it over a cup of coffee in a coffee house, but they're actually saying it in a textbook that is being taught to children across a nation. Or they're saying it in media that is being read by hundreds of millions of people. And so we need to realize the difference between koi random vyakti jo apni gusa se kuch keh rahe hai aapke baare mein, theek hai, jaane do, compared to an organized, systematic calculated approach to undermine and belittle Indian culture and Hindu tradition. And those are two very different things. And the first, it's very important to learn to let go. Neto, you lose your own peace. But the second, it's very important that we have a cohesive, strategic, and effective approach to address that. And we need to realize the difference and the distinction between these two situations. I think that's one major thing. The other major thing, I think, is that within Hinduism and within India, especially the communities abroad, there's so many different sampradayas, so many different, whether on the basis of religion or on the basis even of the state we come from. So you have your Gujarati Samaj, you have your Bihari Samaj, you have your UP ki Samaj, you have all of these itne alag-alag samajas, itne alag-alag sampradayas abroad, that what happens is people start connecting and identifying more with their individual Samaj than with Bharatiya Sanskriti. And this was where, when Pujya Swamiji founded the project and founded the Hindu Jain temple, he said, this is not the place for us to divide ourselves on the lines of different sampradayas or different samajas. This is the place when we are abroad, when we're in America, this is the place to identify as Indians. This is the place to come together across borders and boundaries of different states, different castes, different sampradayas. This is the place to come together as one voice of India. And I think that that's really necessary, especially abroad. Here it doesn't matter. Here it's fine. Alag-alag sampradayas ho, alag-alag samaj, no problem. We understand hum sab Bharatiya hai. But when you go abroad, that needs to be a much stronger identification than alag-alag choti si samaj.
When people abroad ask you about Sanatan Dharma, I mean, there's so many ways of explaining it, but how would you get the essence and tell them what exactly are you practicing? I mean, Hinduism is a concept that's been made up by the Western, you know, like communism and fascism, and I really hate the word isms attached to my faith. So if we were to come back to, say, Sanatan Dharma, how would you explain it, so get the essence of it so that people would understand, wow, you know, this is something we don't have?
So I actually just I arrived back from Nairobi. I was in Nairobi for a big United Nations event, and while I was there, I gave a talk as well to the Nairobi Hindu Samaj that was there in the temple. And the theme of the talk actually was Sanatan Dharma, eternal truths for modern challenges. And I've just seen their sign that we only have 5 minutes left, so I'll just tell you very quickly. But the way that I gave the talk was I used the word Hindu. Because I was explaining, and this is how I explain to everyone abroad about this, is that Sanatan Dharma, when we say Sanatan, it means eternal. If something is eternal, it means chahe hum battleground of Kurukshetra mein khade hain, chahe hum Manhattan mein, Los Angeles mein, Paris mein, London mein khade hain, if it's eternal, it means it's applicable to all times, all places, and all people. Neto, it's not Sanatan. So when we say Sanatan, it has to be that, which isn't varying and changing based on where we are, who we are. And so just very quickly, the way that I gave it to them was with the word Hindu. And I said, so let's say H stands for happy all the time. And the reason that Sanatan Dharma gives us the keys to be happy all the time is because we realize I'm not the body. I'm not my bank account. I'm not my relationships. I'm not my titles. If I am my body, if I am my career, if I am my bank account, if I am my relationships, then every day, as my weight goes up and down, as my bank balance goes up and down, as the joy in my relationships goes up and down, my sense of self goes up and down. But when I realize I'm not the body, I'm the soul, I'm spirit, I'm consciousness, I'm divinity. When we say aham brahmasmi, not my title, my bank account, my body, oh my God, a gray hair, oh my God, a wrinkle, oh my God, moti ho gaya, patli ho gaya, jo bhi hai. If I'm not that, I'm soul, I'm divine, then we have the opportunity to actually be happy all the time. And then I said, okay, so then I stands for inclusivity. This is the dharma that says Vasudev Kutumbakam. The world is a family. And today, when we're facing terror, violence, war, environmental destruction, climate change, it is Sanatan Dharma that gives us the answers of how to address every one of these things. Because all of these problems in the world are rooted in the myth of separation. Ki hum alag hai. Chahe log dusri country se, dusri culture se, dusri caste, dusri creed se hum alag hai. Chahe hum Mother Earth se alag hai. Amazon se alag hai. Jal se alag. Paryavarn se alag. If I think I'm separate from all of those, then I can harm them. Or I can sit back quietly, chai peete hue, while they are destroyed. But when I realize that we are all one, then I become an agent of transformation. Then I become a tool in the hands of the divine to actually bring about that change in the world. When we're told in our scriptures that wherever adharma is winning out over dharma, wherever light is being vanquished by darkness, I incarnate in form to bring back dharma, to bring back light. Well, that is us. The divine lives in each of us, and today, it's not about waiting for God to incarnate. It's realizing that we are the incarnations of the divine to bring back dharma to adharma, light to darkness. And then N stands for names are many, but truth is one. And so, as time is short, but we know this truth. We know that in Sanatan Dharma, so many different names, so many forms, but one God. Not only are we not a polytheistic religion, we're not even a monotheistic religion. Monotheism means there is just one God. We actually believe there is nothing but God. It's not there is only one God and that one God is sitting out someplace. But there is nothing but God. And then D. D is our duty, our dharma. That in order to really practice Sanatan Dharma, we must actually be living it. Not just chanting it, not just praying for it, not just reciting mantras, but living mantras, living this truth, fulfilling our duty, and realizing that that duty, that dharma, is not always fun, doesn't always feel good, doesn't always get us a lot of appreciation. Sometimes people think, oh, when I figure out what my dharma is, when I figure out what my life purpose is, then everything will be great. Then I will be on the cover of magazines, then everyone will love me, then everything will feel good and be perfect in life. But you think about Arjuna. fulfilling his dharma. It was not fun. It was not romantic, was not glorious. Did not get him a lot of appreciation, but it was his dharma. And that's where it's so important for each of us to realize, I am here to fulfill my dharma. And as Lord Krishna reminded him, even dying in the midst of fulfilling your dharma. Because of course Lord Krishna did not say to Arjun, by the way, don't worry, you're going to win this one. He could have, he's God, he knew what was going to happen. But he didn't. When Arjun said, ki I may die, Lord Krishna didn't say, Are, don't worry. Tum jeetoge. He didn't say that. He said, yeah, maybe. But dying in the midst of performing your dharma is 1,000,000 times better than living forever, but not fulfilling your dharma. And lastly, as we just got our 3-minute card, lastly, universality. And that universality includes all, as we said with inclusivity as well, but especially it's important these days to realize our divine Shakti, our women, our girls, our Mother Ganga, Mother Nature, Mother India, Mother Earth. A lot of times when we practice our religion, we forget that Devi ko mane wale log hai hum. We are the ones who worship, who revere the Divine Mother. And that which we would not do to a murti of Ma Durga, of Ma Saraswati, of Mahalakshmi in our mandir, we cannot do to our mother, our wife, our sister, our daughter, kyunki they are the divine feminine. As is Dharti Ma, Gomata. All of that which we revere as Ma, we have to ask ourselves, am I being as reverential, as respectful as I would be to the deity of Ma Durga in the mandir, of Ma Saraswati in the mandir, of Mahalakshmi in the mandir? And that's what Sanatan Dharma has to offer the world. First, we have to embody it. We have to remember it. And then, this is what our world needs. I always tell people that whatever is afflicting our world today, from depression to suicide to addiction to terrorism to climate change and environmental destruction and everything in between, Sanatan Dharma has the answer. The keys of our tradition, of our heritage, of our Sanskriti are the keys to every problem that our world is facing today. And that is why it's not just about living our dharma. It's about sharing it, disseminating it with pride. Because this is what we need. It's what our nation needs, but it's also what our world needs.
Do we have times for questions? One question? Okay, anybody with a question, please pass the mic or take the mic from me, please.
In the meantime that they get the question to the microphone to our one gentleman who will have a moment to ask a question, just a quick note that they do have copies of my new book that has just come out by Penguin called Come Home to Yourself, which is all about what I have been so blessed to experience here in India on the banks of Mother Ganga through Sanatan Dharma, but not pertaining only to Sanatan Dharma, that which pertains to people of every race, every religion, every walk of life. And I'll be happy to spend a few minutes there after this session doing book signings, but also answering any other questions that any of you have. I realize time is very short, so I'll be happy to spend a few minutes there answering any other questions that anyone has.
Thank you very much, Sadhviji, for this enlightening discourse. You talked about Western materialism, which is somewhat antithetical to Eastern spirituality. But don't you think that there is also the other West of Thoreau, of Emerson, and a whole lot of transcendentalists with which the Indian spirituality needs to align?
Of course. Any culture you take, any religion you take, any country you take, you can't make generalizations that actually apply to every single person within a race or religion, a culture, whatever. But when you talk about dominating themes, sadly, when I turn on a television, when you drive down the road and you look at billboards, when you go on social media and you see either a news feed or your advertising feed, sadly, we're not getting quotes and teachings of Thoreau or even of Martin Luther King. We're not getting all of the great thinkers who knew this. Fortunately, some of us still had to read at least Orwell in school. Some of us still had to study at least some of this. But unless you are in a special class in high school or you're majoring in a certain type of philosophy or literature in university, sadly these teachings are relegated only to those who go out in search of them. Whereas the dominating culture that I see driving down the road, on TV, in magazines, in the news, wherever you look, is a culture that is 100% material. And it's a great tragedy. And this is where bringing back culture, of any culture, bringing back arts is so important because we're losing that. And that was where I began with appreciating Sanjeevji for even here just bringing back that connection to culture. So yes, absolutely, of course, there are beautiful, brilliant minds of not only Western culture, but other Eastern cultures even. But tragically, that's not what we are being indoctrinated with today. What we're being indoctrinated with is the material culture. And lastly, before she closes, I also just wanted to mention and invite you all to join us at Parmarth Niketan in Rishikesh for our evening sacred Ganga Aarti. And after the Aarti, we have satsang, where it's questions that people ask. And so for those of you either who live here or who are in visiting with time, we'd love to welcome you to our sacred evening, what Puja Swamiji calls our evening happy hour on the banks of Mother Ganga. That is, these days it's at 5:30, but it's always right at sunset, and followed by the satsang as well.
Let's give a hand to Sadhvi Bhagwati Saraswati for her very, very good and emotional appeal to give up, to look inside us and not to be only looking for money or material things. And I hope that this effort will bear some fruit. People will think a little more deeply inside them. Thank you.
I think people will think more for sure. I just want to say once again, thank you so much, Sadhvi Bhagwati ji, for taking time out, for joining us today. It's been really enlightening, I think, for everyone in the audience. So on behalf of everyone, a really, really sincere thank you from us for being here. And apologies for rushing the end of this. As Sadhviji said, her books are available at the back, and she will also be available for a little while. She is offered to stay and answer your questions. So if there's anything else, you could meet her at the back table over there, where perhaps she will even sign a copy of her book for you. So that would be a lovely opportunity. Please do go pick up a copy of her book at the back.